Today, I'm joined by Jets legend Nick Mangold. We're going to talk about his long career with the team, the difficulties of playing center in the NFL, and what are his thoughts on the 2024 New York Jets. Let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of JetCast. As always, I'm your host, Pat, and today I'm honored to have Jets Ring of Honor inductee and Jets legend, Nick Mangold. Nick, how are you doing? Thanks so much for doing this.
Doing well. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I always try and do this with players when I first meet them, when I first interview them, is I want to know about your draft process. I know you had a really good Senior Bowl. The Jets, moved up to get you. And when did you think you were going to be a Jet? Did the Jets ever reach out? Did you have meetings with them? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I was fortunate. I had a good Senior Bowl, had a good combine, and did well there. But as far as leading into the draft, I really had no idea where I was going to go. I was told that I could be anywhere from a high first or a low first round pick to a high second round pick, and it was just kind of up in the air. And so I didn't know until I got the phone call, and it was Eric Mangini on the phone and Mike Tannenbaum, and that's when I knew. So I knew, a couple minutes before everybody else did.
Awesome. Now you've snapped for a lot of quarterbacks in your career. How difficult is that when you are changing quarterbacks either mid-season or between seasons to learn their nuances? How difficult is it for a center to, I guess, be that flexible?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, every quarterback is different. You try to say the system's always the same, so it doesn't really matter. But every guy's different, and just trying to figure out what that is. So usually, it only happens when things are going bad, or they get hurt, and then things are bad as well. So it's never a good thing to switch quarterbacks in mid-season, but you just kind of roll with the punches and you try your best to get caught up and do as well as you can.
What was your toughest matchup across the trenches, would you say?
Toughest matchup probably had to be Vince Wilfork. I think you look at the guy and you see that he's going to be a tough guy to move just by looking at him. But then what you don't realize is how athletic he actually was. And so I think through the course of our careers, we went against each other 23 times, 24 times.
Wow.
And so we had a lot of battles. And so after that, after going against each other for so many times, you get down to that chess level. Like, I know what you're going to do, you know what I'm going to do, and then we're going to try to do something different. But then we also know what that different thing is, so then we're going to try to do something different off of that. And so you get a multi-level chess game going there.
Awesome. When or how did you find out you were going to be in the Ring of Honor?
I found out we were filming something over at the Jets, and it was a surprise to me. Woody comes walking in and says, we're going to induct you in the Ring of Honor. So
just like
it was
that.
A complete surprise, just like that. My family was there. They didn't ruin the surprise. So it was definitely a special moment.
Did your family know? Did they know beforehand, or was it a surprise to everybody?
I think they knew as they were coming over, and I think they knew why they were coming over, but it definitely wasn't until that day that they found out.
All right, so I want to talk about the current team. This is really weird for Jet fans because since 2010, 2011, it's been rough sledding. I mean, you had that nice year in 2015, but since then it's been difficult. For me, in my lifetime, I have not seen a quarterback play like Aaron Rodgers since, I think, Vinny back in 98, if we're being honest. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? What makes him different than other quarterbacks? What makes him so special? How is he able to continue doing this at 40, 41?
Yeah, I think so. I've known Aaron for a long time, and I think he's one of the smartest guys on the football field that I know. And he truly loves what he's doing, and I think that's a big help. He loves the game and he wants to be perfect at it. And I think the way that he prepares himself and the way that he takes care of his body, has led him to be able to have continued success at this elevated age that he's at, that I'm also at. And so it's pretty impressive to see. And, he's such a great competitor, but he's also, a kid just having fun playing football. And so I think the combination of those two things really help him, keep him grounded. And he's playing good ball. And I think as Jets fans, we watched that, and we had that Thursday night game against the Patriots, and it was a comfortable win. Like, in that, we don't have too many of those in the past, in the recent past, and so having one of those on a primetime game for the Jets was awesome to watch.
How would you what sort of similarities or differences do you see in this team compared to the 09 and 10 teams? Obviously, I think the O-line being as solid is a big deal, but what do you see from a more football-oriented mind than, say, a fan would?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it, obviously the offensive line, having the veteran leadership there is a great comparison to the 09-10 teams. We had a great offensive line with some amazing veterans on there. But I think the biggest difference is the experience at quarterback. I think Mark was fantastic for what we needed for those teams, but having a guy like Aaron back there is pretty special. And so I think they play great defense, be able to run the ball up front with the offensive line, and then have a quarterback who can get you in the best position at all possible times. I think is a great combination for us. And hopefully, as long as everyone stays healthy, we can do some good things this year.
There's a lot of really good skill position players, I think, finally on this team in a long time, especially coming out of Ohio State. Garrett and our boy Ruckert, who grew up 10 minutes down the road from me. What do you like out of the skill position players? What do you like out of Garrett? What do you like out of Ruckert? Do you have that, that connection with them from Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have a natural connection, being, the Buckeye Brotherhood. But it's great seeing the young guys and how they were attracted to Aaron, and, learning from them, and the way that, you watch Garrett and you watch Aaron, how they interact, and how they, after every throw, they're always talking and seeing, like, maybe they saw something different or they saw the same thing. And so I think that's a great connection to have. And they're just striving for success. And so you love to see that as a fellow Buckeye.
All right. So Joe Tippmann, we heard a ton about these high snap issues during training camp, and it seems to have gone away. Was it just mental? Was it just one of those things that he was being asked to do more at the line, that just, what was it? And I guess, was it a non-issue basically?
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned about it, when that was happening in training camp. Just like baseball players and golfers, maybe he put his change in his other pocket and turned his hat sideways and, did some different things to break the slump. It's just, you get the yips sometimes, and you work through it, and, you're fine. So I wasn't too concerned about it, and it hasn't been an issue so far. So, knock on wood, hopefully it is an issue as we go through the season.
And you always heard about him coming out of the draft as being sort of a taller center. Is it that much more difficult to be someone at his height and play center? And for his, a lot about pulling outside of the tackle for these stretch run plays. Is it more difficult for him being a taller center, or is it just, that's just how he plays and that's just how he's always been?
Yeah, I mean, it's just how you've always been. I think it's funny that he gets talking about him being a tall center. When I was coming out, I was too tall to play center as well. And I think I'm 2 inches shorter than he is. So I think it's more of the old school mentality. This is how it's always been done, so that's how we have to do it. Where I think, as long as you can play the position and you can do well at it, it doesn't really matter what height you are. And he's got great leverage. He bends well, and he can move. So I don't think his height is really an issue at all.
Now, just going back to the O-line again as a whole, last season, there was always that issue where they weren't practicing together a lot in training camp going into the season. This year, completely different story. Everybody was healthy through training camp. Everyone, got their reps. Is that all it takes for an O-line to develop continuity, develop that attitude, that O-line, ability to play together? Or does it take a little bit longer? Does it take a few weeks into the season? Because, they did have a rough week 1, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I think I think obviously it takes a lot of hard work and everything to get an offensive line going. But you're right. As far as continuity goes, the more you play together, the better you are, because you start to get a feel for what a guy's going to do next to you and how they look at things, how they see things, how they attempt to block things. So playing together, as many steps as possible is only going to make you better. And I think with the way that the NFL is going, and if you looked up and down the board, week 1, week 1 was kind of like almost like a preseason game, where everyone's knocking on the cobwebs off since so many guys don't play in the preseason, and they've shortened the preseason 3 games. So week 1 is tough to judge by. But I think as you'll see, especially championship teams, as they go along through the season, as long as everyone stays healthy, those offensive lines keep getting better and better because they get more reps together and they play longer. And I think that's a big component to success for teams.
Give me your scouting report on Olu, because he seems fantastic. And the fact that he's going to be able to sit for a little bit, obviously not now with Moses, being tweaked up a little bit, but it was a fantastic pick. From my opinion. So what do you see in him? What do you like about Olu?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you have 2 tackles and you take a first round tackle, people are going to look at it as it's not the sexy pick, but it's the smart pick because it's already come to fruition that he's need to step in and play. And he's a great kid who has good power and good size to him. So I think he's going to do well in the league and continue to get better and better. But this is why the Jets drafted him. He was their insurance policy in case somebody got hurt for this year, and then can be a rock, for many years to come. So I think it hopefully works out for him and the Jets because it would be a great piece to have.
Tell me a little bit about. So we saw you a lot at training camp. We saw videos of you down there talking to the players and stuff and giving pointers. Have you ever thought of doing coaching on a little bit more permanent basis at a professional level?
No, not a professional level. Right now, I'm coaching high school football, and so that is about as far as I want to go. I think it's a good spot for me. Having a lot of fun with it. I think where I'm at with my family and everything, you go much further above that, and there's the time commitment, the uncertainty of everything makes it a little bit more difficult. So I like where I'm at. I like the joy of hopefully shaping some of the young minds of America, and getting them prepared for football, but also prepared for life. Which is, I had great high school coaches that did that for me. So my opportunity to kind of give back to the game and the community.
Tell me what you're doing now outside of football. Tell me about that big sign that's behind you.
That little guy right there. Barbecue sauce. I'm a big fan of food, obviously. And I decided to I make my own sauce. I've been making it for years, and I thought it'd be fun to bottle it up. And what I find now, doing different events and everything, how awesome it is that people come up to me, and obviously known for Jets and football and everything, but the people that come up and say, "Hey, I love your sauce," and that's pretty awesome because that's something I created in my kitchen that I'm trying to get out. And so for people to enjoy it as much as I enjoy it is pretty cool.
Awesome. So again, thank you so much for doing this. I think for a lot of us Jet fans, it's very rare for an NFL fan in general to have a player be with one team their entire career. And then for that player to then be, have their name in the stadium, forever. So for a lot of us, I'm a little bit of an older fan, but I think for a lot of fans that are, mid 20s, maybe later 20s, like you're one of the reasons why they became Jet fans. That 09 and that 2010 team are a big reason why there is a fan base as passionate as they are right now. So I want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
All right, guys. As always, we're sponsored by SeatGeek. Use code JetCast at checkout. Get $20 off your first purchase. And we will see you next time.